Welcome in the arena. My name's Allison Klein, and we are recording at AI Infra. This is a data insights episode, and that means Janice Starowski is here with me. Welcome, Janice.
Thank you, Allison. It's great to be here.
So, Janice, all week we're going to be doing recordings, and they're going to be about AI and what's happening in innovation in AI. We're kicking off with a fantastic episode. Tell me who's with us.
I am very excited to meet with one of the industry experts. We have Daniel Wu with us. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, Daniel is a lot of things in AI, but really focused on strategy and strategic AI leadership for Stanford University. Do you want to comment a little bit more on some of the other things you're working on?
Sure. Thank you for inviting me to this episode. I'm an AI executive, also, an educator and a book author. For the last 2 decades, I'm on the front lines of technology, and for the last 10 years, specifically on enterprise AI strategy, specific about not just adoption, but also scaling AI. I'm also very passionate about bridging the gap between academia and industry. So I'm on the course staff for Stanford's AI professional program since 2019. I've also co-authored books on the latest AI topics about Agentic AI and generative AI securities to help practitioners navigate this ever-evolving area.
And you were speaking at the AI Infra Summit this week.
Yeah.
You've been on Tech Arena before. I had such an awesome first conversation with you.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about why you've chosen to focus on artificial intelligence so deeply.
Yeah, so my background in tech actually led me to focus on AI about over a decade ago. And I truly believe the transformative power of AI. And as a technologist and engineer by training, I'm fascinated by all the awesome capabilities that have been enabled by this technology. But as a leader, leading enterprise technology organizations, I have another focus, and that specifically is around the impact that get brought about by AI technology. And I'm really passionate about channeling the powerful technology to better humanity, and especially concerned about lack of understanding of what this technology can do and all the possible impact because the power and the scale of this technology that can brought about upon humanity. So I've dedicated myself and particularly passionate about building robust framework and help move from that concept just building powerful solutions to building trustworthy systems, and that's why I'm here.
So from your vantage point, how has data management advanced from a 3-tiered hierarchy to an AI-fueled distributed data pipeline?
That's an awesome question because that basically touched on the transformative aspect of AI technology. And so when we look at the traditional data storage, like 3-tier data storage model where you have hot, warm, and cold, I like to think about it as like a library. So you have this frequently accessed data or the materials in your reference domain. And these usually incur high costs, but these are frequently used data and usually the latest information that you have. Whereas in the library, you also have the main stack where you have less accessed information and books there. And finally, you might store certain books that are rarely touched on, in archives that are even off-site. But these are cheaper and far away kind of storage. So this kind of system worked well in the world of structured data. And where the goal of this 3-tier structure is really to optimize the cost for data storage and access. But this also is very slow and siloed and does not meet the requirement for the today's AI to meet the scalability and the speed of AI. So I think it needs to move, and that's, we're already seeing that start shifting from that very clearly defined three-tier approach to a system that looks more like a biological nervous system, I would say. So instead of having this library system, you now have this very dynamic, intelligent system. What we care about is really not where the data rests and how much it costs to store the data. Rather the focus has shifted to how the data moves and what it can do in motion, and how do you connect all these different data together. So that's akin to a more like a nervous system where information flows freely and you get whatever information you need to get, rather than classify them as static 3 tiers and put them in those places. The benefit of that is also, like in this 3-tier approach, moving from one tier to the other tier usually is a very manual process, and it is not automatic. But shifting it to more like a biological nervous system design allows your data to flow freely and be able to leverage all the strength of all the different types of data together. So I think to empower today's AI, really, we need to rethink about the data storage as well as the data movement.
I love those analogies. They really brought it to life to me. And I talk about this a lot, but that just gave me some new insight. I guess the next question would be, you've painted a wonderful picture of the historic state and the future state. How are organizations grappling with the migration of thinking about data from that pyramid standpoint into this new model? And, when you think about it from a standpoint of data organization, is it different when they're considering model training or fine tuning of different AI applications?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think, today's data organizations are struggling because they are trying to figure out how do we leverage the legacy, all the data assets we have that get, locked away in different sources, fragmented across different applications, and trying to leverage all that into building the AI solution, especially about, model training and fine tuning. I think the key thing here is really to start thinking about, a more scalable data framework in this new age of AI, and specifically about leveraging, not necessarily trying to move everything to one place, because that literally for certain organizations is impossible to do. But today there's a new sort of ideas about you could leave your data where it is, but build a layer on top of it. And I think specifically Agentic AI has a great potential to play here. Earlier today, I gave a talk about, Agentic AI applications in finance space. And in finance, we have tons of data. And the data, it comes with different shape and form, and they're stored in different places. But with agentic solution, you could have agentic, the data retrieval agents that are built tailored to different type of data sources, and they work together. And that is akin to having these agents, specialize in certain type of data. But then at the end, you can standardize how they work together and be able to blend all these different data assets that you have to build your applications.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I'll have to watch that episode. Agentic AI is definitely a hot topic these days. Daniel, as you've been really focused on, education, obviously, being at Stanford, and your journey has really been around AI. Can you tell us a little bit more about your opinion as to what skills or areas do you think enterprise leaders need to encompass or develop more urgently in today's society?
Yeah, as you know, education is one of my passion here. And so, I love this question. The short answer is the skills that are required, like the most urgently required today for the leaders versus the practitioners. They are different, but they're complementary, and I'll elaborate more. So I think for leaders, their job is not to know how to build the engine of the car, if you take that as an analogy. However, they need to know how to read a map, how to read the gauge on the dashboard, and be able to make the decision and safely drive this car. So translate that into the skills they need. I think the key thing here is they need to move beyond buzzwords. Still, during my conversation with other leaders, I feel like the superficial understanding of what AI technology is at a dangerous level, meaning that they are the decision maker for the organization, but they don't truly understand what AI can do. And so that sometimes that decision making is driven by what I call fear of missing out, because their competitors are using it. So they jump in and use it, but they don't have clear idea what this technology can do. And the flip side, the limitation and the risk of adopting this technology. So I think the number one skill is to develop that AI intuition. It's super important for leaders. And the second piece, I think, is to kind of tie to that is to enhance the literacy around risk and governance. And for AI, this is not an optional thing that you check off. For leaders, they need to really understand the flip side of the picture and understand, what the governance entails, specifically the fast advancement of AI technology and the type of things that it enables drastically change the risk landscape for any enterprise. And being ignorant about it is a very dangerous thing for the leader. And I think the third thing, leaders' responsibility is to design AI native kind of organization. You can't simply plug an AI team into an existing IT infrastructure workflow organization to expect everything to work successfully. So leaders need to start thinking about what they need to change, especially around encouraging quick experimentation and also allow their foster an innovative culture within their organization to empower their AI team. And then finally, also make sure that overall, not just the AI team, but overall the organization has the right level of AI literacy so they can collaborate flawlessly and be able to achieve that synergy. Now, flip the picture to the side of the practitioners on the ground. These are the data scientists, ML engineers that are actually doing the work. Now, for these people, I would encourage them to think beyond the technical work, building a model or training the model, and think more about how to scale out their impact and connect with the business that they're contributing to. And I think the key thing here really is not to just focus on, being the craftsman of a model, but becoming an engineer of a holistic solution that works for the business. And I think key thing here is really to develop business acumen and understand the business impact so deeply that they're able to proactively propose better solution, and cut off the unnecessary complexity in their solution, right? Because they understand the business goals so deeply. So I think on the practitioner side, go beyond the technical know-how, like the latest technology and agentic AI and generative AI, but also dabble into the business side to gain that understanding.
Now, I was having a conversation with someone earlier today about how, we've gone from the birth of ChatGPT just a few years ago to a stage where some IT organizations feel like they're living through death by 1,000 POCs. And, many, many projects launched, but maybe struggling a little bit to get to broad deployment. I know that you talk to a number of practitioners from across different industries at Stanford. How do you see organizations navigating through that period into successful broad proliferation?
Yeah, that is a great question there. I think that is sort of the secret sauce every organization is struggling, trying to find. Being in the position of leading AI/ML team and develop them, as well as in the educational program at Stanford, I have a couple kind of recommendation there. I think it's important to understand that this everybody is trying to figure things out. There's really no kind of set recipe out there for every organization to simply copy. Now, if you were talking about more classical AI and machine learning, I think a lot of organizations or the mature enterprises have succeeded finding what that playbook looked like. And so the question for these people are simply moving from, if we can do this, to how do we scale this faster? Now, I think going back to the question about generative AI and even like this year's agentic AI, like this is so new that I think collectively the enterprise world, jump into this discovery effort together like 18 months to 24 months ago. And I think we're still in the deep of it. I think, there's no one single organization can claim that they have find a success recipe, the secret recipe to success there. But there are some certain things I think will be helpful. So number one things I think is important is to, for organization to figure out, what real problem they're trying to solve. Like, again, avoid that herd mentality of jumping into something just because others are doing it. Truly knowing, what pain points the organization has. And this differs from organization to organization. And so clearly identify their strategic priority and be able to focus on that and pick the right focus and start small, with a vision of, building out the whole solution and knowing exactly what type of impact it's going to bring. And I think the second thing is to, through these, for the whole organization to go through this, it doesn't work for every single project team to go hack out their own path through the jungle, so to speak. So trying to develop some paved success, route or path, and establish, especially standardize those very difficult part of the journey within the organization, so everybody can follow that success, and you can actually accelerate the path to the other side. And I think one of the, some of the major areas to standardize include things like data access, things like compliance and control, to make sure that you cover all the risk and all that. And so what you want to do is make sure that proven path, or that pace path for the entire organization, is the compliant path is that proven path. So nobody need to go around and figure out how to do this.
Yes, for sure.
I guess so. With that, I'll just jump into it. What surprises you most about how quickly the AI tools are advancing and how it's kind of shaping work across various industries?
Yeah. So I think what surprised me the most is not just the speed of adoption and innovation. I think with that adoption, I'm surprised by three things. And the first thing is, if we go back like a couple years ago, before the availability of LLMs and Gen AI, the be able to develop a solution that understands complex documents and be able to generate coherent content requires literally a whole village. That's required a top research lab at just a handful of tech giants to be able to do this. But look at where we are today. It's surprising. Like, one single developer can have access to the world-class AI through simple API call and be able to build innovative application around it. This is astonishing, like the where we are today. And I think that literally take down the entry barrier for AI innovation, because you no longer need these top huge labs to do the work. Now anyone have access to these models can build something fantastic. So that's one thing that kind of surprised me quite a bit. Like it happened so quickly. Now with that, naturally we also see the next phase of this cascading effect is how fast the professional's role has evolved. So I know there was a lot of narrative, about like the job displacement, that get caused by AI adoption. But I think we also need to look at the more optimistic picture. We have seen a lot of professional roles evolve, that people just become more productive because they start embracing the AI technology. We see financial analysts now use AI to sift through hundreds of reports that used to take them that 80% of their time to do the data analysis. Now they use Agentic AI to do that really quickly. So now their role has been upgraded to a role that focuses on really strategic perspective to encounter or invest it in the financial planning space. And for software developers is another example. We see these co-pilot solutions out there. So now software engineers has moved from coding, literally writing code line by line, to directing a co-pilot to write a code, and they evaluate the result that get produced by these co-pilot solutions. So they literally upgrade their job to become an architect, a software architect, rather than just simple coder. So these are examples of how quickly, the AI, specifically generative AI, has empowered professionals to expand their role and upgrade their skill. And I think finally, the third thing I'm surprised, and I think this is a pleasant surprise, is how quickly the whole industry rally around the need of developing the right framework infrastructure to support this. Like we see vector databases, we see LLM operation platforms and solutions, we see creative data access layer. Like all these things come together so quickly, and the speed of innovation in that space is also pleasantly surprising to me. So I think all those three things in essence go beyond just the speed, but that cascading effect that we're seeing, like, surprising the most.
That's amazing. Now we are at the AI Infra Summit, so I'm going to ask you, moving away from operationalizing models inside of organizations, why is infrastructure so important? Why is it becoming more important every day? And how do you see this part of the industry responding to the demands of the large cloud providers, the neo cloud providers, or even on-prem implementations?
Yeah. That is very good question, especially in today about operationalizing AI solution, because without the infrastructure, like, you don't have AI. And literally infrastructure advancement, specifically on the compute and the cloud technology, were the key enabler for today's AI. And that's why we're not in the third AI winter. We are, booming now, right? And so the infrastructure is a foundational capability, and I'm happy to see like the community come together to think a lot about innovation in this space, and not just in developing more powerful model, but also how to actually practically deploy these solutions in an enterprise setting, right, in production. And so that would require a lot of new ways of thinking. So I think in the past, you can think about it like the infrastructure and the model, they are kind of separate. And I can give you an example, like, and even today, a lot of organizations still function this way. You'll have data scientists and engineers, they're developing their models, and when they're done, they toss over the wall to the infrastructure and ML ops team, say, deploy this. And only then they discover, well, we don't have access to this kind of infrastructure to run model at this scale. So it's unfortunate. This is kind of built in silo and trying to force fitting them together. Now, for today's world, you can't operate that way. You need to have that end-to-end view while you're designing the model and the entire solution. You need to think about the actual production environment and infrastructure available to it, where it's going to run, and have that model have that, what I call the deployment environment awareness. And so if you build a model that way to begin with, then you'll be, more successful in trying to get this into the infra. The other part, I think, in the cloud technology and infrastructure side, is to push even more towards that dynamic aspect. So we like today's LLM solutions, they require large infrastructure and it's extremely expensive. You want to have a static, pre-configured, always on cluster running. That's just not feasible.
Right.
So we need to move towards a more flexible, dynamic sort of on-demand provisioning, right? So you can imagine the infrastructure would provision just enough for a specific workload that is expecting and run that workload. It could be training the model, fine-tuning the model, or run batch inferences, doesn't matter. But then after that job is done, it automatically vanishes, right? That is the most sort of efficient sort of infrastructure solution for AI deployment, especially for today's AI. I know we're not there yet, but I think a lot of cloud providers are moving towards that direction, which means that they move beyond being a hardware landlord, so to speak, to sort of a providing the managed AI factory kind of services on demand to these teams to deploy.
Nice.
So looking ahead, say a few years from now, where do you see the biggest opportunities for enterprises to kind of unlock the value of AI?
I think there's probably three areas I can think of. The first area is continue the path of using AI to improve the internal workflow, business process, the existing internal operations. I think this is most organizations start AI journey in this area. So there's no surprise, but there's a long way to go, especially technology has advanced so much. There's a lot more flexibility in adopting AI, and the choice of different type of solutions is even more today. So I think that will continue to be the table stakes for a lot of AI teams within enterprises. And I will not be surprised that will continue to spread beyond the tech organization into other functions like legal, like finance and operation and other functions. So that's one area. The second area, I think it's clear that AI is gonna, continue to delight the customers, and so is applying AI to enhance the existing product and services. And specifically, I would expect that agentic AI is gonna be even more common in this space, especially around not just hyper personalization, which agentic AI is a perfect fit to, but also playing that co-pilot role with your users and be able to guide them. So imagine a world where you no longer need to have that learning curve of figuring out the new application, new user interface. There is some intelligence right there built into the product that leads you and guides you every step of the way. So it literally is a personalized experience. So I expect that area to be really taking off and very profitable for enterprises as well. The third area I think important is accelerating the strategic functions within the organization with AI. And here, specific agentic AI is a clear sort of direction to go. And, think about R&D. And today, agentic AI specifically is already revolutionizing scientific discovery, like, new drug development and all that. And so I expect that to continue to grow.
That's awesome. Daniel, every time I talk to you, I learn something new. So thank you so much for your time today. It's been a real pleasure. I loved hearing about your insights about how organizations are adopting and where we're at, but also about the infrastructure and how you see needs. I'm still blown away by your new data pipeline and the migration. I love that story. I'm sure listeners are going to want to engage with you more. Where can we send them to engage and continue the dialogue?
Thank you for having me. The easiest way to follow, my work is to find me on LinkedIn. Simply search for Daniel Wu. I usually post my work and my perspective. And, like, for example, the two books that I co-author on Agentic AI and generative AI security. And I also talk about panels and my keynotes.
Wonderful. Well, Denise, that's another episode of Data Insights. Thank you so much for the great conversation to both of you.
Yes, thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you.